Hi guys, I'm so excited. Well, we are so excited to finally say Sour Candy is finally back. I'm your host Supath.
And my name's Ang, and I'm the co-host. And today we have a very special guest with us who goes by the name of Phoebe. So if you could
How?
please introduce yourself to everyone in there.
in there.
Hi guys, I'm Febe. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here. It's my first podcast, so yeah, I feel honored. Thank you. So I guess about me, like my life has changed a lot in the past year from being employed, kind of hating my job, to leaving my job, traveling for a bit, and now working for myself. So yeah, I feel like my life has really changed for the better. And I recently started a community of women called Women on a Mission for other women who really want to just like change up their lives and they're ready for a change. So yeah.
Wow,
Well,
that is quite a change. So how was the transition from being employed and working under someone and now you're independent? Is the transition quite scary, or like how have you been feeling?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think vision is always 2020 with hindsight, right? So I think now I'm like, oh, no brainer. I'm so glad I made the transition and I made the jump. Obviously, when I was doing it, I was like, I didn't do it for such a long time. I was thinking about it for like a year and I didn't do it because I was paralyzed with fear. But yeah, I think now I've done it. I'm grateful. I'm not that risk averse. So I'm the type of person that I'd rather like take a risk and have like a bit of instability if it means I'll actually have the life I want, rather than staying somewhere that's like supposed to be comfortable, but I know it's not where I'm supposed to be. So yeah, ups and downs, but overall I'm really happy, and I wouldn't change it.
So how's the Women in the Mission going?
We're on a mission.
I know that you had the first one yesterday.
Mhm.
So yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, we had our first get together yesterday. And I think it was great. It was a really good turnout. And it's just crazy to see that so many women from like different age ranges, like from 22 all the way to 34, like we all have the same issues. So it was nice to have that space where we could just, open up, be vulnerable about our like romantic issues, our like life purpose, and not knowing if our job's the right job for us, and like what we're actually supposed to be doing to feel fulfilled. So yeah, I think it was good. Many more events to come. So
I guess we're going to be invited on the next one.
I mean, it's women on a mission. So
I can dress up, guys. I can dress up.
We'll have to create our own one.
Yeah, but I think it's just sometimes hard to, yeah, like open up, be vulnerable about those things. I think especially because no one really asks. Like when people are like, "How are you?" If you actually go into like, "I'm not okay," like people are gonna be like, "It's too much." You're just supposed to say fine and keep it moving. So I don't think people really make that space on a day-to-day basis for people to just open up.
So when you're not okay, when someone says, "Oh, are you okay?" You don't. Why do you think you're not you don't like open up? Is it?
For me, I mean, it'll be different for everyone. For me, it's like I don't actually think they want to know. So maybe
It's just like one of those conversation starters. It's just like when I'm asking you, "Oh, you're right." I'm not asking like I'm not expecting you to like.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, I don't know. Do you find it easy if I say, "Oh, Supath, how are you?" You go, "Oh, you know what, man? Like I'm hurting. I'm sad." Are you just gonna?
Well, firstly, I would say it depends who's asking and how much time I have to conversate with that person. But no, like most of the time, it would be like, "Yeah, I'm okay." But if I'm really not okay, I would say, like, if it's a family or if it's a friend, I would just say, "Oh, like, no, I'm not actually." Like, I think before I used to say, "Oh, I'm okay," because I was the type of guy that would like keep things to himself and like deal. It's just I think it's the mentality that like even if I pour my heart out to you and just say this is what's going on, I don't think whatever you say will help my situation. So there's no point. But yeah, like normally I'll just say it's easier to say okay than having to like dig up and then in your own head and then just say what's wrong with me.
But do you reckon just opening up to someone actually helps you?
Yeah,
Though?
I was gonna say.
What, me personally?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm still learning to be vulnerable, and I'm still learning to like not pretend everything's okay when everything's not okay. But it's it takes a lot of work to just be like. I mean, there are situations where like I've expressed like, oh, like I am going through this, or like I'm having difficulties with this, and the other person's not. It's they don't say the right things to like help me, to calm me down, or like to you know, to maybe the answer like sometimes even I don't know what I expect of them to say. So I like it's hard. What about you? What do you think? 'Cause I mean you've like when I'm like down and like I call you and like it's easier for me to explain it to you. And then sometimes I feel like I don't know if I want this person to listen to me or give me advice, or like I don't know what I'm expecting, but sometimes I just want to be heard. And then there are times where like I'll say what's wrong with me, and then I instantly feel better after saying it out without you having to say a word back at me. But I guess it depends. Some people want to say what's wrong with them and then expect like an advice, but some people just want to be heard and just like get it off their chest. And it's hard to open up. Like you said, if someone's asking like, hey, are you okay? Like if someone's just like going past you and are you okay? Like if your manager or someone or like your friend, you're not going to be like, no, and I'm going through this.
Imagine a normal scenario. Hey, Subat, how you doing? Let's have a seat. You know, it's just going really bad. That'll be it. I guess it has to be in the right setting for you to actually open up to someone.
With
and
the right person as well.
With the right person and stuff. Well, the coaster's down. Coaster's down.
Yeah. Do you think? Because I think there's almost like different levels. Like well, tell me if you think this is a thing, but I'm really good at being vulnerable with myself. So like I go through like reflection questions to really understand how I'm feeling. I think some people find that alone uncomfortable. So I'm cool with that. Like I can be totally honest with myself, but I think it's like sharing that with other people. Like kind of to your point, like what am I expecting this person to say? Like I don't really know if they care. I saw this this meme on Instagram, or like this thing on Instagram the other day, where it's like British culture is so like unsupportive. Like you can open up to your friend, they're like, oh, I'm mad, oh, I swear, oh, it gets like, and it's just so like, you just feel like a mug for opening up, because it's like just not the response you're hoping for. So I just don't like that feeling when I've opened up and someone's just like, oh, I'm mad. It's like,
yeah, I feel like it's, were you gonna say something?
Just carry on.
It's, if you were to open up to me like years ago, I'd probably I can see like sometimes people just don't know how to react when someone throws so much emotional baggage at you. You just don't know how to react. And maybe like someone saying, oh, swear down, that's mad, blah blah, it's just a natural way of being like,
especially if you've if that person hasn't gone through that similar situation. So it's just something completely new to them. And then it's just like, what do I say to this person? You know, you don't want to say the wrong thing, because obviously at that point in time, the reality of the matter is that person is going through so much. And then best reaction is, oh, god damn. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, should we try and define it though? Because like, what does it mean to you then to be vulnerable?
To be vulnerable is to be, in a way, yourself, like your true self. I feel like when you're vulnerable, that's when, because if you're not vulnerable, you can't really express yourself in a way that's true to yourself. Because when you're vulnerable, you sort of like peel layers, and you're not afraid to know who you are inside your head. And then, but it's also scary being vulnerable, because you don't know how people are gonna perceive you as, or like you don't know. It's scary in a way.
I guess it's much more easier for you to be like, oh, I want to be vulnerable, but when you're actually in that moment and when you're trying to open up to someone, for me, like I immediately think, oh wow, should I say this?
Yeah.
You know?
And then the worst thing is probably regretting you being vulnerable to the wrong person.
But where is that coming from? Like, what are you regretting?
Regretting being open, or like someone seeing a side of you that they don't deserve to see, maybe.
That's interesting.
But in general, it is scary. I mean, it's scary in a sense that it's scary enough to just go inwards and ask yourself questions and find out who you are and just like dig deep. And that is scary itself. But it's just, I feel like most people, and even me sometimes, don't want to do that, because it's just, it gets too real almost. And it's hard. That's why you see people sweeping under the rug like so many.
I feel like
it's like him, yeah. No, not taking a shot. I wasn't even thinking of him.
About this the other day.
No, I mean, it's fun, I guess.
People like anger. No, I mean, I know personally, I know so many people, like not just in my personal life, but the way I see, like I think we discussed this like ages ago, but like when you would ask someone something, and then as soon as they find something uncomfortable or they're triggered, they would make a joke, and that's their defense mechanism. And so many people do that, and it's like I said, it ties into what I said earlier. It's so hard to like dig deep and like work through your insecurities, or like what's making you, or your trauma in general, that people just like to have a good time and not do that instead, if that makes sense. Like you'd rather go out and party and drink, or like watch Netflix or watch something just to distract yourself from doing that.
Do you know what they say? They say that if you, I don't know how true this is, but they say it.
Who's they?
The internet. I don't know. They.
Who's they? Who's them?
They say that if you, like a sign that you haven't really healed something is if someone brings it up and you like want to cry, or like you can't talk about it, then it's like unhealed. Yeah. So it's almost like if that comes up, then you need to almost like dig deeper in that area. Like I had that area for myself. Like there was this. There was this like when I would go to therapy, I've had so many therapists, don't judge me.
How many was it again?
Maybe like 12 or 15.
Nah, 12 therapists.
Okay, over the course of like 5 years, I've like tried lots of different, like some of them were just like one session. Right. There was this one therapist that I saw for a long time, and it was every time she would ask me about this specific topic, I'd be like close to tears, and I don't cry in front of people. Like I don't remember the last time I actually like cried in front of someone. So there was that one topic that like she would bring up, and I just couldn't talk about it. Then I realized that I told people like, I'm an open book, ask me anything, but don't ask me that, like, because so I guess in that area I realized that it was clearly like unhealed. It still is, to be honest. And like now I'm realizing the only way I can like move past that is to actually talk about it. It's just like if I cry, I cry, like it's fine.
Yeah, I'm proud of you for going to therapy, first of all.
Thank you.
5 therapists.
15.
Oh, 15.
Now I guess you have to find the right person that can help you, right? Because like there's gonna be so many people, as we said before, are just there to get paid, or just like not just listen to you and not say anything constructive or help you with it. They're just there for the sake of it.
You know how you know how we talked about earlier, saying, oh, like you'd go up to someone and say, are you okay? And then someone would be like, no, I'm not, and then do this. With therapists, it's hard to find a right therapist, because even if you pour your heart out, some like their response might not be something that you want to hear, or something that is helping you at the moment, because there's so many therapists. There's like one with like I can't remember, but there's like different types. One with relationships, one with your work, career, blah blah. But it is hard to find the right one as well, in my experience. I went to a therapy. I went to a couple sessions last year for like 2 or 3 months, I think, and it took me a while to find the right one. And even when I found the right one, it took me a couple of sessions to be like, oh, it's working. Because the first 2, I think, are just like, hey, tell me about yourself, tell me about your childhood. And childhood's a big one. Because from what I've learned from therapy is like everything starts from childhood. Everything stems from the attention, the love that you were given, or lack of love or attention that you had. Whose love did you crave more? Was it your mum, your parents? What kind of sibling were you? Were you the middle child? Were you the oldest, or were you the youngest? What kind of dynamic did you have within your family? What kind of responsibilities did you have? It all stems from those kind of environments that shape you, that molds, almost kind of like molds how you think from day to day, and it still affects me. And I remember like when I sort of like understood and grasped the concept of like it all starts from the childhood, and like the real work starts after you finish your therapy, and then you go about your real life, and then you start picking like little things, and it all makes sense, and like everything starts connecting. I remember having a breakthrough once. It was in, well, before I had a breakthrough, I had like a breakthrough of my own. And what breakthrough means is that when a knowledge that you has been given to you by a therapist.
Well, it's not really like given to you. I'd say it was almost like you
It
had
reminds-
it and it's like unlocked.
unlocked. Yeah, I would say unlocked. So it's always there, but it's just you just don't find it until the work.
Someone asks the right questions.
Someone, that's why you go to the therapist and not your friends or family, because they won't ask. They will never ask you the right questions. And so like I was on holiday. I was in Italy or somewhere, and I remember like having a breakthrough, and I just pulled out my notes app and just journaled for a bit, like for like good 5 minutes, and then I was like, I need to tell this to my therapist. So when I came home, and then I went to see my therapist, and then this is what and she looked at me like a proud mom, and she's like, I'm so glad you figured this out on your own without me having to say it. And I remember like walking out and just like glowing, like I was just so happy and just glowing, like you could just see in my face, and it all made sense. And that was such a powerful moment for me, because it was like there was a lack of confusion of why I was the way I was and why am I like this. And I start connecting the dots subconsciously, not even like trying to, but like it just did. And it helped me so much to not understand myself, but also like how I was as a son, as a partner, as a brother, as a worker, like how I was to other people and how they were to me. And then I started learning about boundaries and like it just blew my mind so much. And now I look back and think, if someone's like contemplating about therapy, I'm always like, yes, you should. In fact, I feel like everyone should go, especially like parents. Especially parents. 100%, no, parents should go to therapy so they don't pass down any traumas down to their kids. And there's so many unhealed traumas, especially with our parents. They didn't have the services, or they didn't have, like, therapy wasn't a thing back in the day, so it was just like, oh, man up, or like you can't even show your emotions, so forget therapy. But it was just, so going back, I feel like everyone should go to therapy. I know that I didn't go for a while because I wasn't convinced, and also because I didn't want to pay. I think money is an issue as well, but I looked at it and I was like, it's worth more than any holiday. It's worth more than anything I'd buy with that money. Because now I'm at peace. Like, you'd rather be at peace with yourself and go to a war with everyone else than be peaceful with everyone else and go war inside your head. So I definitely think everyone should go therapy.
How was your experience with a therapist?
I think mine was similar. I think I definitely resonate with the idea that the real work is after. So it's like, if you're planning to go to therapy to say like, or thinking that a therapist is going to give you all the answers, like, that's not therapy. Honestly, a good therapist will ask you the right questions that will unlock that information that you didn't have, or that breakthrough. As you said. So I think that was helpful for me. Like, they asked the right questions. I think the second thing was that they kind of highlighted the things in my life that I just took as fact. Sometimes when you say something to someone like, so I did this because of XYZ, and they're like, but that there's not a natural link. There's obviously a belief you have. So for example, like, this was the first time I had a therapist. I'll be a bit vulnerable since we're talking about that now. The first time I had a therapist was because I was like really, really anxious, and like it was the first time I had experienced like anxiety, low moods. Like, I actually was having like suicidal thoughts for the first time in my life. I'm like, that's crazy. And this was when I was on my internship at like one of the big banks. I won't say which one, but like it's the one that everyone wants to work at. So I was in a good place on paper, but a really bad place mentally. So I went to a therapist. It was paid for by the bank, so I didn't have to pay for it as a student. And I would say things like, like, I hate this bank. I don't want to be a trader. Like, this is not what I want for my life. And she's like, so why are you here? I'm like, oh, because I need to get a good job, make money, take care of my mom, do this, do that, and she's like, oh, like, you're saying all of this as if it's like just facts. And like, yes, you can want to take care of your mom, and you can, because my mom was a single mom. My dad died when I was a baby, so like I feel like I almost owe her that, because she never got remarried. She always like prioritized us, so I always had that belief like I need to give back to her. So I was always like pushing myself in careers I just did not want to be in, because I was just like, I have to make a lot of money. But she helped me question that, and she's like, like it's good that you have that drive, but you don't need to base your whole life around making like doing things that you hate, making loads of money just so you can take, like, you can try and rearrange your life in a different way. Maybe take a bit longer to make a load of money doing something you love, and then like take care of your mum gradually. And it was just like I had never actually stopped to think, like, why am I like, basically what you're saying, like, why am I like this? What are the underlying beliefs that are driving my actions? But she just like actually challenged me and asked me the right questions. I was like, oh wow, I understand myself now, like why I stayed on a job I hated for such a long time. And like so
see, that's the breakthrough that I had this, not like the exact same one, but I could relate to you in terms of like how you feel after like it all making sense in your head. It's I'm happy for you, man.
thank you. Have you ever been to therapy, Ang?
I've been to therapy when I was in university for a couple of sessions, but for me I guess it was the fact that I wouldn't say that she wasn't the right therapist. I think at that moment in my time I was just too in my head to even contemplate what was happening in the therapy sessions. So whenever I went to it, it was good at that point in time, but when I went back, obviously I probably didn't hear from you guys then about doing the work outside of therapy. But yeah, so in terms of contemplation, I never really had, like, as soon as I came back from therapy, after that moment of peace and whatever you wanted to talk about, and the camera is off. So I never really had those moments of reflection after. So I just go home, felt peace for like a little while, and then just back into that zone. So yeah, I mean, it's the right questions that you have to do, I guess, and also just self-reflection, self-discovery. And I know that you do a lot of contemplation and stuff like that.
I literally schedule time. I have
Schedule
like
time,
contemplation time.
yeah.
Like, otherwise, I just don't do it. But
I mean, I always say that I do want to do it, but I never really take out the time to do it.
What, to go therapy?
No, I mean contemplation.
Oh,
Therapy as well, I guess. As you guys said, hearing from you guys, therapy is something that
they do. I just remember they do offer like a first one-off just to see, like a one-on-one with that person. I think. I'm not sure.
it depends. Yeah, sometimes they do give you a consultation.
Yeah.
I remember having one with like just a phone one. I think it was my second or something. I remember like he would ask me like, how do you feel, and then I would say how I feel, and then he would just be like, yeah, this. He would be like something like, oh yeah, it looks like you're like taking on so much and you're not doing things for yourself, and that's why you're not happy, or like you're just not putting yourself first. And then but then he wouldn't really ask me questions, and he wouldn't like poke me. He would just like kind of summarize what I said, which I know already. And that I had like 4 or 5 sessions with him, and I remember just thinking, dude, just say something, just give me something. I remember like just being so frustrated, and I just told him. And then he'd be like, oh, like, how do you think we're doing? And then at first I'd be like, yeah, like it's like you're helping me express myself, and like just like it's nice to talk to someone, blah blah. And then I got so fed up, and I was like, I am not being helped.
Did you say that to him?
No, yeah, I told him. I was like, I got to a point where like I didn't even want to get to like on a call with him. Because it would just be a waste of time. Like I'd rather speak to him, and then he'd probably say something that would help me.
I don't think he meant it like that.
Hey, I don't know what it is. Hey, shooting a lot of shots here, mate.
He'd probably say, "Damn, that's crazy."
God damn.
No, but like,
But I guess that's important in terms of finding the right therapist. Then, so kudos 100%. To you for going from 1 to 15.
Bruh, like I found a really good one right now. But she specializes. So this might be the way forward, you know. If you know a specific area in your life that you want to improve, maybe find someone who specializes in that area. So for me, it's my romantic relationships. I'm just gonna. So she's like an expert in like dating, love, like really understanding how your childhood has affected your attachment styles and how that affects you in like as you said, like as a partner from that lens.
It starts from the childhood, isn't it?
It all does, yeah.
Yeah, it like almost puts you in a box where, not in a box, but like it molds your personality and characteristic. Like are you avoidant? Are you attached? Are you like needy? Why are you needy? Because is it because you didn't get attention when you were growing up?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I'm sure like a lot of people are avoiding the work as well, because after you find out that you have all of these attachments, all of these things that stemmed from your childhood, you still have the work to do after.
Oh my God,
I was
that
literally
is-
just going to
And-
say
Yeah.
that, like, I think that's the like thing that people need to be careful about. People, including me, like, just because you found out. So I'm anxiously attached. Apparently, I thought I was avoidant, but apparently I'm the opposite. I'm anxious. But finding out that you have a certain personality type or you have a certain tendency does not mean you are stuck in that space. So just because I've been anxious doesn't mean I can't be secure in my next relationship. So I think it's just like people need to be, because people almost use it as a crutch or like an excuse, like, I'm just avoidant, that's why I'm a lousy partner. Like, no, you can change.
I agree with you so much. I feel like once you label yourself and once you accept, it depends. Like, you can accept and be like, all right, this is what I need to change, or like you can accept it and just be like, this is who I am. Nothing's gonna change it. At the core, I am anxious attachment. Like that's like I can do this. I can like go for walks, meditation, read books. But at the core, this is who I am. But then, like you said, you need to be careful, because once you label that, you're basically putting yourself in a box that. And you might justify your like actions, whether it's good or bad, and use that as an excuse and be like, I'm a shit partner because I'm this, and I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do because this is who I am.
Yeah.
And my childhood's
if a
not
guy
my
says
fault.
that to you, please run. Like, don't accept that guy,
Yeah.
please.
So I hate like labeling even myself. Like, I realize, I understand this is who I am, and maybe and this is the reason why I am who I am. But it's like you said, you need to be careful when you give yourself label. And and then you said the real work starts when you realize what's wrong with you and what you need to do. But
then a lot of people are when you know what's wrong and you have the work to do, right? There's a lot of work. And when you see the mountain that you have to climb, and I'm a secure person, apparently. I'm not talking about me. No, I'm saying like talking about the mountain that you have to climb, because you have to do the work. And a lot of people get scared, because just trying a little bit of that, like, because you're so down to your core, you're that person that you've already accepted, but you want to change, but right at that moment in time, you're identified as that person by yourself. So to change, it takes a lot of work. So for you guys, like how when you starting, like, would you have any advice for anyone that would be like, scared to take that step?
Step towards therapy or step towards
therapy, and then after
reflection.
that step after reflection.
What advice?
What
I mean,
advice
I'm
would you
not,
guys
like, I'm not like, I don't want to give the impression that I am this I am this person.
elevated.
I'm this person who's been through all of it and come out the other side, and I'm like, yeah.
No, but then you have
But
an experience of what you went through, and
Yeah,
maybe
I can-
someone else could
yeah.
relate. You never know.
Yeah, like I said, I can only speak from my experience and from what I've read and from what I've consumed from the media and made sense in my head. But my advice is just you would never know anything until you try. You can sit there and like wonder, oh, is this good for me? Like, someone might like watch this and be like, oh, like he went through the same thing. Maybe that the same thing will help. I don't know. Maybe it's people are different. People are wired different. But I would say like just go for it. But I do understand it's not easy. I like there was a lot of convincing for me to take that step, whether it's money or whether it's just me.
Yeah.
Like I was adamant on thinking, oh, I can do this by myself for the longest time. Because I always believe that if you ask yourself enough questions, you can solve your own problems.
Yeah.
And I still believe that even after going therapy.
But they're experienced in asking the right questions.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's the hardest. But like I said, I feel like everyone knows how to solve their own problems in a way. But they're just it's hard to navigate. But everyone in a way knows whether it's career, whether it's relationship.
Or maybe I would like tweak that slightly by saying that maybe they don't know how to solve it, but they have all the information they need to solve it. Like, I'm a consultant by trade, so we have a saying that, like, if a client needs help, or if a client asks the consultant what's the time, we'll ask the client for their watch, meaning that they have what they need. We just need to like take what they have and repackage it. So I feel like sometimes that's what a therapist helps you do. Or they just like
you don't go there. I think they she actually told me, oh, I'm not here to help you, I'm here to help you help yourself, or something like that.
That's like, good. And she's just I've no taken no responsibility. I did no responsibility.
But yeah,
later we're gonna do the top 10 questions that were asked to them by the therapist.
Actually, before I forget, I was gonna say, you were saying something about like attaching yourself, or like giving yourself a label. I think that directly correlates to the power of like words and affirmation, because you saying you are this is like for instance, you saying you're anxiously attached, whatever, then the more you say it, your brain starts to believe. That's the power of words. Like if I said, oh, I am confident, and if I say it enough times, my brain will believe it. Same with saying, oh, I'm ugly, or like I am not good enough. You need to be careful what you say to yourself, because if you say it enough times, like I said, your brain will start believing. Whether you say, oh, you can do this, it's all belief anyway. But yeah, like I just wanted to touch on that. That's like the power of words is powerful.
It's like the power of your words and then your beliefs, because they like
it starts from what you say to yourself. So just be kind to yourself, man.
Yeah, they affect your actions as well. But to your point on like advice, I actually do like, I have an analogy. I think I maybe told you this before, that like the best way. So I was quite depressed for a while, like especially through COVID, like on the back of COVID. I didn't like my job. I didn't like my living situation. I didn't like a lot of things. I had a bunch of therapists. I did a load of self-reflection, and it definitely helped for me to like just understand to the camera. It definitely helped for me to just understand myself, understand my situation, what the issues were. But the only thing that really, really like made a difference was just taking action. And I think you may have said that, Supas, but like I would like liken it to when I went paragliding. So that's basically when you jump off a cliff with a parachute attached to you. So it's not like skydiving where you are free falling. But it's terrifying because you are jumping off a cliff, and you have these. I did it in Spain, so I have these Spanish guys like shouting, "Run, run, run!" Like, and so I have to like run off the edge of this cliff, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying, but they're just pushing me. So I think that's the same thing with life. Like, I was really scared to jump and fall. So I was like hesitant, but the guy was pushing me. As soon as I actually got off the edge of the cliff, like the parachute kicked in, and I was just like gliding. And I was like, this honestly summarizes my life. Like I was like running off the edge of the cliff, like super scared. But I was like, I have to get out of the situation. As soon as I'm off the edge, I'm like, wow, like life doesn't have to be you know how it was. So I think taking action, not only does it change your situation, but it almost like gives you the evidence you need in the future. If you're in the same situation, like, should I do this? It's like, yes, because I've gotten through it before, I can do it again. So yeah.
Do you reckon just not thinking about it and just go for it? Or
I wouldn't say plan. I had a plan, like I had savings, I had like I moved back home, I was practical. But it's almost like taking calculated risks. Like you cannot change your situation if you're not willing to take any risks. But you can do it in a calculated way.
Because sometimes even when you plan, you still feel anxious, or you're still scared. What if you fall? But I loved what you said.
I mean that situation explains a lot in terms of yesterday as well, because you were quite nervous about doing the women on a mission thing. But then when you actually got there, done it, you were like, I remember you were messaging, oh, this was quite cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Because at first you were quite anxious. So I mean,
that's happened so many times to me, man. Like just being anxious and being scared, and then once you do it, like.
But that's that little scare.
Even
before the action is
Even this podcast, the same thing.
There's a book. I have a bunch of books. I don't know if you guys can see it, but like in this bookshelf.
We'll put it on purpose.
I have a book called "Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway." And one of the things she says is like the only way, like people always ask like, how do I overcome fear and just like do what I want to do? And it's so ironic that the only way to overcome fear is by doing the thing. That's why it's called feel the fear and do it anyway. Like if you're scared of roller skating, the only way to overcome your fear is to roller skate. So it's like if you're scared, it's an indication that you need to do it. So then one day you do it enough times and you're not going to be scared anymore.
Yeah.
But it's crazy that the fear stops people, so they never overcome the fear because they never do it.
It's funny because I have that quote on my phone when, like, I remember on New Year's or like the day before, I was like, all right, these are the words I'm gonna like as a kind of like reformation. And just to remind myself, but I didn't know there was a book on it.
It's feel the fear and do it anyway.
I heard it somewhere, and I was like, that just stuck with me. I'm like, I've always so many things in life, and the source of happiness, or like so many things that I've done was me most of the time coming out my comfort zone, and to do that, I was like feeling the fear and doing it anyway. I just didn't label it back then. I didn't know, but even with this podcast, even everything I'm doing now is just like. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Or like not just the fear, feel whatever you're feeling. If you're sad, if you're happy, if you're excited, feel it, process it, just do it. Yeah, it's so easy to say.
It's easy to say, but like it's that simple. Like I used to hate seeing like cliched stuff like that until I experienced it, and I'm like, damn, it is that. Like it's just exactly that.
I remember reading somewhere that life is simple, but we make it complicated.
Oh, Naval said like everyone's problem starts because they can't sit down with themselves for 20 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. And
you do an hour of it, so
No,
that's
no, it's like it's hard because even with like meditation, it's hard. The first 5 minutes, you're like the voices are amplified because it's silent, and then like slowly it like quiets down. But many people give up when the voices are very loud, and they're like, oh, it's not working. But it's you need to go past that phase.
Because I remember him saying that when you're sitting down meditating, he has a different approach of meditating where he doesn't want to be in a meditative position in which he's not thinking about anything. I think it's like he lets everything that's come, and then in like an hour or so of that happening, where he's like thinking all of those thoughts, he finally gets to the actual root problems of what is actually happening in his life, and then those are the real things that he needs to get over to actually, reflect and just be himself.
I don't know if he said it or someone else, but with the subject of meditation, it's like when you meditate, if like there are topics, if there are topics that are coming into your head, like just as a form of distraction, let's say like lighting or camera, you think of them as you'd attach the words into a balloon, like a hot air balloon, and then you'd sort of like let it go, and then a new word would come, or a new scenario, or a new thing would come, and then you'd attach it to a hot air balloon, and then it would like go, and then
physically
one by
there's a lot of hot air balloons.
mentally, and then until you clear your head.
What's your meditative process? What do you like to do? Because I know you meditated just before this podcast.
I just like calm. It depends on the environment. Like if I did some breath work before we started, but like this environment, like you two are here. Whereas if I were to do it by myself, I would probably put my phone away and just breathe, like count, like inhale, count 5 times, exhale, count 5 times, keep doing it, and then just like try and think of nothing. Or like try and think of that makes me calm, like sounds of like rain, or like just raining outside or something like that. And but I still struggle with meditation.
How about you? Do you?
I was just gonna say I do have a method. My favorite way to meditate. So sometimes they say you can focus on your like breath. I actually like to open the windows and focus on sounds, but I don't like focus on any one sound. It's almost just like anything that comes in, like it's okay, and then it just like the sounds keep moving, and then like after like 10 or 20 minutes of doing that, I feel very just like zen. So I'm like I really like this idea. I don't know if I think it was maybe you that I was talking to about the other day, that like nothing is necessarily good or bad. I think we have a habit of attributing good or bad to this. It was me, So sometimes I'll hear like a loud horn and think like, oh, it's ruining my meditation. But after a while, I'm just like, it's just a horn. It's just rain. It's a car. It's a baby. And I'm just like aware. It makes me very present as well, because I'm super aware of every single sound that's coming in. But I don't label anything good or bad. It just is. It's just a sound.
I guess, does that make you less reactive to other things, like something just happening straight away? Would that make you
after
actually?
meditation?
Yeah,
Would
I mean, because she's like getting all of the sounds from everywhere and just relaxing with it. And so imagine something happens, like split situation. You actually aren't reacting straight away. You have that moment of contemplation. You're just like, just a sound.
This is what I'm saying about asking the right questions, because you just help me connect dots.
Yeah.
I think actually having this approach to life generally and
Yeah.
trying not to label things good or bad has made me really, I think, more, I don't know what the word is, but my mood is a bit more stable. So when people say things that might piss someone else off or annoy someone else, I'm like, whatever. They can say whatever I think I've realized more that it's a choice to be annoyed by something or to allow something to affect my mood, because I'm the one labeling it as annoying or like rude, or just like whatever. They said what they said, and I'll just keep it moving. Like whatever.
I have a question. So, for both of you, so you're saying let's say someone annoys you, but you have trained yourself not to be annoyed and carry on with your life, right? But is that suppressing how you naturally feel, your natural emotions? And does that get like suppressed enough, and then one day it's just gonna come out in the form of anger, or like you shouting at someone?
That is true. That is true.
That's a good
Because
question.
that's
a really good question.
Because like I don't know when I was thinking. I think a lot, and I don't know when I was thinking this, and I was just like, surely people who are calm, and no one's calm all the time, and no one can be in one state of emotion all the time. But like people who are like genuinely happy and like do this and do that, surely there are, because we've seen so many people who seem happy on the outside, but then later on something happens, you're like, oh, you were so happy, or why, like you can't, his actions doesn't match his persona or like what we perceived of him. But do you think like people that practice kind of has a negative effect in terms of like suppressing your natural emotions?
I think that in terms of what you're saying, I think if you have like an outlet, like let's say sports, like people go gym, people do some other stuff like Zen meditation or something. I think having that little outlet would help them. So there's always going to have to be a little outlet for you to have that, because as you said, no one can be calm like 24/7 all the time.
You know what? When you said that, it made me think of something. Like, I don't think any emotions are necessarily good or bad. I think you have to feel unpleasant emotions, because it's almost like an indicator for something. So like, if you're disappointed, it's not to say like don't feel your disappointment. It's like, I think just again taking the time to reflect and ask like, why are you disappointed? So I wouldn't ignore the disappointment, but I'd be like, am I justified? Because usually when you're disappointed, for example, it's because someone's like let down your expectation. So first of all, you might ask yourself like, was I justified in having that expectation? Did that person commit to meeting that expectation? And if all those things are true, then you should be disappointed. But it's also like, it's not sitting in that unpleasant emotion. It's like doing something about it. If you're angry, likewise, it's like, it's not bad to be angry. It's like, why are you angry? What are you gonna do with? Just don't just like sit in the anger and become an angry person. I think that's when it's like bad.
So always have an outlet, whether it's,
I guess basically like, yeah, just do something.
I'm the guru here, guys. I'm the guru here. I'm the captain now.
I just feel like you might have to face that, because that camera's dead.
No,
so,
that's fine.
Okay, sorry.
But yeah, it's a question I've always wanted to ask actually, and whenever this topic comes up, because I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, because if you suppress it too much, there's bound to be a time in which you're gonna explode.
Yeah.
Toxic.
I mean, even Jesus got angry. Like, so you guys don't read the Bible, but do you know that story? When Jesus like flipped and saw people selling in the temple, and he just like flipped tables. He was going crazy, saying, "Don't sell in the temple."
Jesus needs to go there.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like, even he got angry, meaning like, you know, he's supposed to be the most like Zen person, or just the best example of how we should live. And he used anger in the right way, like when it's the right time to express anger. It's not a bad emotion. It's just you don't want to become that all the time.
Yeah. So the happiness, the key to happiness, from what we've learned, be vulnerable, go inwards, look inwards, see a therapist. If you,
I mean, I
If you
think
can, yeah.
I think the main thing that I'm getting out of this is
you know,
asking the right questions to yourself.
Yeah.
That is the main thing that for me I'm getting out of this.
yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like therapists needs. I feel like they see a therapist themselves as well.
Therapist,
Yeah.
Do you reckon?
No,
I
100%.
think
Like
they will need
hairdressers
it.
can't do their own hair.
No,
Yeah.
no, I know.
A therapist.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
No, because
yeah.
like obviously, I know they're there and just listening to other people's stuff. But do you reckon like they sometimes get emotionally affected by
Yeah.
who they are? Like
Yeah,
you know.
they're humans. They have emotions. If anything, they learn how to feel emotions more than anything.
Because they see thousands of people with so much trauma, so much stuff. There's
much
bound to be
baggage,
some
yeah.
so much baggage. There's bound to be some kickback and something that will affect them as
I
well.
also want to say, I feel like there's a stigma where if you go to therapy, you're like seen as a weak person or like. Yeah, actually, I want to talk about this. And not only that, it's just you don't. I feel like you don't have to be mentally broken or like you don't have to be to a point where you're on the verge of breakdown to go see a therapist. Like if you're ill, you're not gonna wait until you have infection. It develops into an infection to go see a doctor. I know why you're laughing.
Why? Hey, what's happening?
What's happening? What?
Nothing.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, you don't need to wait until like prevention is always better than cure, and the sooner you go, the better. Like yeah.
But I think because of the fact that nowadays, like more and more people are going, it's much more better. It's much more accepting environment
Yeah.
everywhere for people to be going to therapy as
Oh,
well.
yeah,
So
I'm all for like. I've told people I'm going therapy and.
people are normally supportive of
Yeah,
that.
I feel like I've met people who've gone to therapy, and the way I speak to them and the way they understand me and vice versa is completely different to a person who hasn't gone therapy. If that makes sense.
You being though, you being.
He's looking at me all the time. He's like some person that hasn't been there.
You're next to me. There's no yeah, like it's.
No, I guess because obviously you guys have been through the same situations. It's much more easier to connect and understand each other in terms of that.
Yeah, but yeah.
On your point though, that like going to therapy, being vulnerable makes you weak. There's another book. I read a lot of books.
No, it's deemed as
Deemed
like.
as.
Yeah. No, not you saying it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the internet sometimes, or whoever
They,
says
who's
that.
they?
They again.
Who's they, man?
No, they need to shut up. But, on that, like, there's this book called Daring Greatly, and this woman called Brene Brown. Have you heard of her?
No.
No, you're nodding like so.
I'm just saying. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And her whole thing is about vulnerability and how it's actually like the opposite of weak. It takes a lot of courage, as you were saying, because it's
Yeah,
scary.
I think it definitely does.
Mm.
To be vulnerable with yourself takes a lot of courage as well. But to be vulnerable in front of other people, that takes a lot of courage. Because
Yeah.
not me.
Yeah, not
No.
literally.
And I feel like being vulnerable, being vulnerable teaches you to get out of your comfort zone, and getting out of your comfort zone teaches you to be vulnerable. You know, and
I think it's a skill though.
yeah.
Because I mean, for me, it wasn't really encouraged when I was a child. So always back to childhood. So
Yeah.
now I'm like having to deal with that discomfort. Whereas as someone who's always asked like, "What's wrong? You okay?" And like, you know, express your feelings might have just worked that skill more.
When
Or
I
you're
have
like slightly triggered or.
no, when I have a kid, I'm gonna be the therapist.
Now, but the thing is, now obviously back in the day, and the people that grew up in those ages, they never really had enough information to be like, okay, you know what,
was
you
also
have
frowned
to,
upon.
yeah, exactly. So to show emotions like that was frowned upon. So we can't really be fully saying that it's their fault, because that's the only way they were living, and that's the only way that they know that they've been living, right? So that would naturally carry down to the other person, and then obviously after the other person,
It gets passed down. Do you remember why I said parents need to go to therapist need to go to therapy? And that's exactly why, because it gets passed down and then passed down, and yeah.
But-
I have a question
For me,
for both of you.
Yeah.
Because I'm a woman, so I feel like a part of femininity is being vulnerable. Like if a woman cries,
Yeah, you're a woman on a mission.
I'm a woman on a mission. Yes, I'm a woman on a mission. But I feel like with women or like feminine people, it's more accepted for us to be vulnerable and for like a woman to cry. And it's like, but for guys, sometimes there's like this toxic masculinity, and there's like, do you feel like it's harder for you guys to be vulnerable?
Personally, I feel like I'm past that, man. I would cry right here if I have to. I've cried in front of people.
Yeah.
I've cried in, like, out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just past that, man. I think I got to a point where there was like, I need to let it out, and it's just like now it's just like I'll cry if I cry in front of you. Like if I feel like crying, I'll cry. Like, yeah.
I mean, I think it's a bit of both.
But I do
to be
get your
honest.
point, though. I get your point.
I think for me, it's a bit of both, because for me, I do struggle to be vulnerable in front of other people, because for me, I've never really been that person. You know what I'm saying? by everyone keeps sending shots at
I
me.
remember, I've cried on the phone with him.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, like, have you guys? Actually, I'll ask this after you've answered. Actually.
Yeah.
My bad.
No, I mean, I think for me, like, it's not really the pressure of. I wouldn't say it's not the pressure of, but I do struggle to kind of like be vulnerable in front of other people. Whereas I feel like it takes a lot of energy and courage to not be vulnerable at the same time be vulnerable as well.
But do you think it's harder to be vulnerable because you were just ang and that's just you, or because you think it will like impact your masculinity or how people see you as a man, or it's just your personality?
Ooh. This is my therapy session right now. I don't know, because I guess it's a bit of both. I feel like maybe there is a part of me that is scared to be vulnerable in front of other people, because I not necessarily because I'm a man, not necessarily because of that, but just in general, just being vulnerable in front of other people, it's just really hard for me, just for that reason. But to be honest with you, I've never really sat down and thought about these kind of things. I normally just, as I keep on saying to you guys, I normally just brush everything off. I'm the type of guy that something happens, I'm just like, you know what, done.
Facts.
You know what, just leave it, just leave it out. And eventually I'll have to kind of like, sit down and think about these kind of things, because getting into deeper topics is something that you have to do to find yourself. Just at the moment, it's just taking a lot of, it's gonna be a situation in which it will, but I don't know.
I've never, like you said, I've never not cried or like failed to open up because of the fact that I'm a man.
Yeah.
It's more like, I'm not ready, or if it's the person who I'm gonna like. I've never thought of it that way. So
it's crazy, because I think that whole like masculine trope, or like masculine figure is men putting on other men. Like as a woman, I
do see that a lot online and with other people. I've just never thought of it that way. Like like I need to be strong because like I need if I feel like I need to, like, again, like if I need to feel like I need to cry, or if I need to be. This is the most vulnerable thing I can do right now. Speak about
going to therapy,
and doing all this. And the reason why I didn't do it before was not because I'm a man and like this is not what we're supposed. It's just I've just never had an opportunity, or like.
You reckon it's a societal pressure though, like how other people would perceive it?
I know people personally. I know people, and I've seen people, and I've seen the like the social commentary on that's based around this topic, and it's real. Like even to this day, which to that I say like that shouldn't happen. I think, because then you're just limiting yourself, and you can't fully express yourself until you're vulnerable.
And Ang and I were talking about this earlier as well. Like in a relationship, I'm starting to learn that a romantic relationship is really just a companionship, like at the heart of it, because that like sexual attraction eventually will wear off.
Can only go for so long.
Yeah, exactly. But like the companionship can only happen if you're willing to share that part of yourself with someone else. If you don't know that part of yourself and you haven't explored it yourself, how can you share it with someone else?
Yeah. I was thinking like I was thinking like I think it was yesterday after talking. When was it that we spoke?
Thursday, yeah.
And we were speaking about like relationship and stuff. And you know how there's a saying, when someone gets in a relationship and you're like, I need this relationship or the person who I'm in relationship to be in line with my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is that if you don't know your purpose or if you don't know where you're heading, but if you're in a relationship, what does that mean when you don't know what your purpose really is? Like, how do you know if this person's the right for you? What if like you get into a relationship, everything's good, but then you find a purpose and then I don't know why you're laughing.
It keeps on going, pointing over here. I think we need to switch places, man. Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting it's an interesting discussion.
I think it's true though. Like I met this guy who went from being an IT consultant and now he's about to be in a Disney Plus show. So shout out to him. He's like 40 something. In the last year, quit his job, pursued acting, and now he's about to be on Disney Plus. So huge change. But he had to get divorced in the process because his wife is a lawyer, and she's like, "Why the hell are you like, what are you doing? Like, this is not." This isn't what she agreed to. So I get both sides, but now he's discovered something he's passionate about. He's in his like, I guess, the middle of his life, and he knows what he wants the rest of his life to look like. He's not going to be held back. So it's like you kind of, I guess it's helpful to know what you want to pursue, so your partner knows almost like what they're signing up for as well.
So do you think someone should know themselves first and know who they are and what their goals are before they get into a relationship?
Not their goals, but I think knowing yourself first would be the ideal situation in which you can get into a relationship with someone. And then when you know yourself, you can be yourself. And then when you can be yourself with the other partner, like the other person, then that's where the true relationship and the building blocks start. When you're not comfortable with yourself and you're just still trying to figure it out.
I have a question. So you say, it's better to do everything after you knowing yourself, right? But
Not everything.
Okay, not everything.
Yeah.
But it's better to, like, let's say, for instance, in the perfect world, it's better to know yourself, know what you want, and then get into a relationship, or know what you want to do, and then get into that career. But people change. People change every people change, people evolve. So when does someone actually know themselves? They might think they know themselves and they know who they are, but it's like 5 years after they're completely different. And maybe that's like, do you know?
Yeah, but the thing is,
when do you know? Like, how do you know that you are this person? You are who you are. Like, how do you know? How do you know that you're not gonna change after 5 years, after all the life experiences you're gonna have between those years?
You don't.
Yeah, so you'll never know who you are then.
I mean, at that moment in time, who you are is going to be...
I disagree, but I'll let you answer.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you should... In life, you're going to be changing all the time, right? You're going to be changing as an individual, you're going to be growing and stuff. But at that point in time, when you're secure and you know who you are,
yeah,
you're not... I don't know how to explain it. You
I know
take
what
the
you're saying, though. I lost my train of thought. I was gonna say before.
I was gonna say, my question was, how do you know?
Yes, yeah, like, so I feel like I have, like, literally in the past month, I think I have a greater sense of who I am and a greater sense of security, because I've just tried things. Like, I literally made a list called, like, let's make life more interesting, and it's a list of things I like doing or I thought I'd like doing, and I'm just like trying it. I did an acting class the other day, and after that I signed up to another acting, like a full 5-week acting course. After that, who knows what's gonna happen, and I could, like, my whole life could shift and I could just start getting in movies, and I mean, hopefully, fingers crossed. But yeah, I think the only way you know who you are is if you try things and see how you, like, naturally respond to things. And now I know what I like, what I don't like, because I've tried it and I have, like, evidence to suggest, like, I like this thing or I don't.
So trial and error.
Yeah. I think it's also, like, knowing who you want to be as well, and, like, partly responding, but also, like, creating who you want to be.
I like that, creating who you want to be.
Yeah.
You, yeah.
But yeah, I
He
don't
looks
know.
like he just had a full-on therapy
Yeah.
session.
How long has it been?
I
I think
don't know.
it's been an hour, if I'm not wrong. I forgot to time keep, but I don't know what time we started. But I think it's kind of been an hour. So we wrap it up in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. That was good. I feel like I've gotten a
Yeah.
lot out.
Okay.
I've gotten a lot, off my chest.
Okay. Cool.
And Ang's in like full
I'm just
contemplation.
contemplation mode because, as I said, I've normally been that person to kind of like just brush everything off, and I normally don't go really deep in any type of situation. So, for me, obviously, I need to get better at that, and I guess that's the vulnerability that I need to explore a bit more about myself.
Yeah, and don't force yourself. Like push yourself, but like let it also
Come naturally.
come to you.
Come naturally.
Like, don't like force yourself if you're not ready.
That's why I'm not trying to. Yeah, that's why I've not been doing it. I guess
Also,
is
there's a difference between not forcing yourself and
And shying
not, like,
away
being
from it.
Yeah, being passive and like.
yeah. But I feel like I've gotten to the stage where I've been passive, to a point where I've been passive. So maybe I might try out a therapy session or two, maybe just to see,
You'll
just
know
test the
when you
water
need
and
one,
stuff.
I think. In my opinion, you will know. Yeah.
Did you know, like when you wanted to?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a very vulnerable conversation. I think you have shared some stuff that
I think
Very
I feel like I
vulnerable.
learned quite a lot, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
hopefully
In
people who
this.
are listening, watching can learn as well. I feel like this is the most vulnerable I've been as well. And like I said, I'm still learning to be vulnerable. I am still doing everything I can to like push myself out of my comfort zone. So I can achieve more things and not shy away from. Basically, I want to sacrifice my sacrifice like me getting out of comfort zone to achieve things.
Like sacrifice your
Because-
comfort almost.
Oh, yeah, sacrifice my comfort. So because if I don't, I feel like what I want to achieve will be the sacrifice.
I'm gonna click for that. That's good.
So yeah, do well.
I guess it's like
Mic
this is kind of corny, but like it's like growing pains. Like you can't, like if you want to like
Yeah.
grow muscles, if you want to learn something, there's always going to be that discomfort before you.
100%. Like I remember doing this podcast for the first time, and even like coming back like after like being absent for like 3 years, and this is me coming out. As soon as the camera's on, I am uncomfortable, and I know it doesn't look like it. I feel like you're
Yeah.
like it is there, but it's more like feeling uncomfortable, embracing
Feeling the fear and
processing.
doing it anyway.
and doing it anyway. Yeah, that's exactly how I was like first time. Like, even just uploading and going on YouTube, I'm like shit.
What other people gonna think?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, like, I was, and just felt it and did it anyway.
Yeah. So I know that you want to get your podcast started as well very soon.
I mean, fingers crossed. Look out for
w-
Women on a Mission podcast. Like,
Women on a
coming
Mission
soon,
podcast.
like-
Is that what it's gonna be called?
I mean,
I
that,
mean,
that
we're
sounds
sticking
a
with
dope
Women on a
name.
Mission. Like,
I
let's
am
see where
pretty
we are.
sure there's a podcast that's called Women on a Mission.
No.
No, there has to be.
Well, we're Women on a Mission 2.0.
2.0.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, no one had sour candy. I don't know if they still have sour candy, but I did look up sour candy. But I feel like the algorithm is against us now because we haven't posted anything.
Yeah.
For so long.
Now, before when you type Sour Candy Live on YouTube, our video would come up first.
Like, it'd
Yeah.
be like top 5 or top 6. Now it's like.
Don't worry about it. We're gonna get back up
Yeah,
there.
you'll get
We're
back,
gonna
like,
get back up
I
there.
feel like you guys are super relatable as well.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like people with
I
like
feel like
relate
we
to you.
should. Yeah, we should definitely do it.
Yeah.
And I like being like I have changed from the last episode, which was 3 years ago, to now, and I have like evolved as a person mentally, and it feels like a weight off my shoulders, like just being vulnerable and just this is just who I am, and it's nice. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
I mean, I think we covered most things. But yeah, it was really good for me.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I feel like I've learned like a lot of
Kinda
things.
feels like a therapy session.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Feels like a therapy session. When she was bombarding me with the questions, I was just like, whoa, what's going on here? But no, that was amazing. That was amazing. And I've seen the growth that you've had over the years, and I'm really proud of you. And I keep on going.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out
more
who you.
friends like Ang in my life.
Hey.
That's
Come on. So we're not friends now.
so funny. I need friends like Ang as if
Hey, what's going on? Everyone's just shooting shots. He's like pointing, oh, like this guy. Like, oh, like friends like him. And yeah. So, in terms of your podcast, good luck with that.
Thank you.
When
thank you.
do you know when you want to start it, or?
I
Need
know.
help? We're here.
Really? Okay, well, I'll take you up on that. We're gonna do more events first, meet each other, get comfortable
Yeah.
with each other, and then start to like once I hear cool stories,
Yeah.
then start to bring people on.
Yeah, I definitely need more motivated friends like Phoebe.
Like,
But yeah, it's been fun. As long as it's been really fun. Thanks for having us.
well, thanks for having
Oh,
me.
thanks for
actually.
having us.
Exactly.
here.
Yeah.
This apartment looks beautiful, by the way.
Thanks.
I wish you guys could see it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
But yeah, thanks for being on the show. Hopefully it's not the first time.
It was the
Sorry,
last
it's
time.
not. Sorry.
Yeah.
You can tell I'm rusty. But yeah, thank you. Honestly, thank you for sharing,
Opening your doors
opening-
to us.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like sharing, and I've only known you for like 2 weeks, I think, and the first conversation was really powerful. I was like, yeah, we need to do this here. But yeah, thank you, and thank you as well for coming along and doing this with me, and thank you for everyone who's watching or listening. Let us know what you think. Let us know how we can improve, and like, comment, subscribe, tell your dad, tell your mom, tell your aunties and uncles and your boyfriends. And yeah, just thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. And with that being said, I think it's a wrap, guys.
Yeah.
Cool. That was amazing.
Yeah.
That was amazing. See, you were nervous.